Well, hello there. Welcome to Live. This is happening in the Free and Empowered Facebook group. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can check the link in the description. And in today's live, we're going to talk about why it's super healthy for children of narcissists to learn how to enjoy uncertainty and what I mean by that exactly. Now, before I get started, I just like to let everybody know that I am looking for a small group of international daughters and sons of narcissists who want to be part of a beta group launch where I will be running my English language version of my Brazilian program for children of narcissists. And the objective, the goal of this program is for you to learn how to actually identify your true self and live from your true self, and also to help you in case you're going low contact or no contact, so you can talk to people who have been through it or who are going through it. If you want more information, there's a link in the description, and you can click on that or just send me an email at info@tarianarocha.com.br. If you identify with the way that I approach things and you want to know more, just get in touch with me. Now, onto today's live, which is why children of narcissists should learn how to enjoy some healthy uncertainty. And why am I saying healthy uncertainty here? Well, first of all, there's some healthy uncertainty, and then there's all of that crazy making. Am I exaggerating things? Am I a bad daughter? Am I an ungrateful person type of uncertainty? And I'd like to differentiate between the two here. When I'm talking about healthy uncertainty, I'm actually talking about, hey kitty cat, I am actually talking about the ability to accept things you do not control and things you will never control, and also the ability to accept that you can't understand certain things just because you want to like that. It's gonna be a process for certain things to make sense to you. That's healthy uncertainty because it's got to do with acceptance of what you don't understand. And also, the unhealthy uncertainty has got to do with toxic false shame and guilt, which is what the narcissist gaslights the daughter or son into doing, feeling. And we feel this false guilt, this false sense that we're doing something wrong, that we're going crazy, that our perception of things are not right. Am I imagining things? When we take care of ourselves, we were taught that the role should be the opposite, and that we should be the caregivers in the relationship with our moms, and that our mom should be the child or the person that's taken care of. So we were taught to feel this unhealthy uncertainty about our own perception of reality through gaslighting and through that role shift over there. So that's not a healthy uncertainty, right? That's you thinking you're crazy because you were taught that taking care of yourself is a crazy thing to do. So the healthy uncertainty that I'm talking about is something that would really help manage anxiety and foster a feeling of inner peace, of having a place to go back into when the world seems chaotic and you're just overwhelmed. So for us to understand this a little bit better, I want to talk about splitting and projection a little bit. Splitting and projection are defense mechanisms. They're very primitive defense mechanisms that babies use in an attempt to make the world easier to understand. Now, what splitting and projection in this case is you look at the world or people as either 100% good or either 100% bad. And you can see this when it comes to, for example, politics. You see, political parties like killing each other or seeing one another as 100% evil or just 100% perfect. You see this in religious groups as well. I'm going to be saved, but you're not going to be saved. No one else is going to be saved. You see this in racism. All black people are this, all white people are this, all Asians are this. So we have these grotesque generalizations we make of reality. And we do this also in the way that we perceive life, people, and ourselves. So as a daughter or son of a narcissist, you might have beliefs such as all men are assholes, not women, no women can be trusted, right? You can have developed certain ways of interacting with people, like my way or the highway, or you might have certain attitudes or beliefs such as people are all dumb, people are retarded, or you might think the opposite thing. You might think no one in the whole world thinks I'm interesting enough, no one will ever love me. Now you can see that these generalized sweeping statements when it comes to how you view what is and isn't possible for yourself can really bring on a lot of pain. And this is what splitting does. It makes you see the world in shades of just black or white, and you don't see all of the shades of gray, which is where reality is. Because if you were honest, you probably wouldn't think, well, all men are assholes. You'd probably think, well, I'm sure, in a world of billions of people, there's men who have these assholic behaviors, and then there's other men who act like this, and then there's other men who act like that. You'd be able to identify that your perception of things is twisted, because it can't all be like that. And the problem with this seeing things just as black or as white is that it causes violent changes in your perception of the world, but it causes violent changes in your perception of yourself. If you have borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, or you just have traits, borderline traits or narcissistic traits, or you were just a daughter or son of a narcissist, you might be doing this splitting projection thing as an attempt to simplify the world and protect yourself. Because someone who says, for example, all men are assholes is trying to protect herself from men. Someone who says my way or the highway is trying to protect herself from maybe abandonment, right? Someone who says people are all dumb is trying to protect herself from the fact that she doesn't feel safe to connect with other human beings. People who say no one thinks I'm interested is trying to protect herself from social humiliation and from loneliness, and that's what she actually wants us to think, is for people to think that she's interesting. So these generalizations, they will really put you in a bad space. They will put you in a bad space where you can't see that they're lies and that the truth involves a lot of other little elements. So all of these other little elements that you don't see have got to do with uncertainty and with accepting uncertainty as well. Now, before we get into that, let's take a look at the typical daughter or son of a narcissist who has just discovered. You're healing from trauma, okay? You're oftentimes feeling the anger or the loneliness or feeling victimized for real for the first time. You're not minimizing it to yourself or lying to yourself to make it seem easier. Your true self is impoverished, which means sometimes you don't really know what you want or who you are, and you're having a hard time accessing that part of you that does know, right? You have processes that were stunted and that you need to live. Maybe you have a stunted childhood, or your sexuality or your teens. Those are years where you didn't really have teenage experiences. There are processes that need to have happened and they didn't, right? You're going to start opening yourself up to new experiences as you strengthen your true self, because strengthening your true self means learning how to trust your perception of reality, learning how to own your decisions regardless of the consequences, right? And this means that you're going to start experimenting with things that are outside of your comfort zone. And as you do this, you will find, what will you find? Uncertainty. You will find that you don't have the answers. Once you start getting out of your split way of seeing the world, and all of a sudden you're like, men aren't all assholes. Now I want to open myself up to experiences with men. All of a sudden you're overwhelmed with anxiety because you find that you don't know how to open up. And you don't know how to deal with all of the stuff you don't know. And this is where the accepting uncertainty part comes in. As the daughter or son of a narcissist, you have these wild, grotesque generalizations about yourself and life. And in order to get in touch with your true self, you have to open up to new experiences. And this is going to open up the gates to a flood. That's just like for lots of new experiences that you know nothing about and that you don't have the skills to deal with, to flood your reality. This is what's going to happen. And if you try to simplify things the way that you're used to doing it, oh, it's all this or it's all that, you're going to have a hard time. So what would I suggest? Well, first of all, I think it's fair for us to remember that if you're exposing yourself to something new and you don't know what you're dealing with, you don't know what your reactions are going to be either. So you can't be demanding perfectionism of yourself. And also, you don't know how long it's going to take you to build parts of your life that were stunted. So if you're going to start having relationships, if you're going to start investing in your career, or you're going to start taking care of your body because maybe you don't take a shower, or you don't change your clothes or whatever, you neglect yourself. You don't really have the answers yet about how to go about doing these things. And this can be really infuriating, exhausting. It can cause a lot of anxiety, because children of narcissists are generally perfectionists, and they're generally very anxious, and they want answers like as of yesterday, right? So what I would suggest is, since you're building this sense of self in your adult phase, why not do it as an adventure? Because in this process, you're going to get in touch with your intuition, and you're going to get these vague instructions about what you're supposed to do and what's healthy for you from your intuition, this place inside of you that whispers things into your psyche and says, do this, do that, cut contact with your mom, start doing that other thing. And all of this happens in uncertainty because you have no guarantees of what any of this is going to bring to you. So why not enjoy it and relax and allow yourself to be the kid you weren't allowed to be, allow yourself to be the teenager you weren't allowed to be, instead of being like, God damn it, I need a personality already. Why don't I know who I am? Why don't I have the answers? Why don't you understand that you're going to start being a kid now? You're going to start being a teenager now, and you're going to learn how to be a proper adult now too. And that all of this involves adventure. Is it possible? Is it possible to connect just a tad bit to the sense of adventure and wonder that life can bring? Hey, look at that. Lots of you guys connected. That's so cool. Welcome, Hannah, Kelly. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Is it Shayla? Shala? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry about that. So how can you do this? How can you accept it as an adventure? Well, it is a mentality shift. But I'm going to give you one tip, okay? Instead of trying to wait for answers that haven't come and skills that haven't been developed, why don't you use the following question rather. Why don't you ask yourself, what can I do now with where I am right now with what I got? What can I do with where I am with what I got right now? So then you don't expect answers that aren't there and skills that aren't there. And you can just ask yourself situation by situation, I'm in a social situation. I normally don't feel comfortable. Instead of being like, oh, I'm not, no one in the whole world is going to love me or think I'm interesting. Why don't you just ask yourself, okay, let's face this as an adventure. And what can I do with what I have right now where I'm at? You know what? I generally don't say anything because I think people think I'm not interesting. Well, then what I can do right now to live this adventure is comment on my quilting or whatever, comment on the new Netflix series that I'm watching. And then you expose yourself. There's a kitty cat over here because it's so cold in Brazil right now, in Sao Paulo. You expose yourself to that new experience. So I'd like you guys to, or another situation, people are all dumb, they're so inferior, nobody gets me. Okay, if you're in a situation like that, what can you do with what you have right now where you're at? Well, maybe what you have is you have someone that identifies with dancing, and that is something that you identify with. And maybe normally you're like, he's such an asshole in all other ways, he's so dumb. But what you have is a person who identifies with dancing, and that's something you identify with, and you can have an adventure in that sense together. So why not appreciate that one thing that you do have, and not just constantly focus on all the answers that you don't have and everything you don't know and all the skills that haven't been developed. So that's what I wanted to ask you guys. And I'd also like to know, and please leave your comments so I can read them later on. How do you face all of the uncertainty of building a sense of self when you don't know who you are? How do you deal with it in a lighter way without so much crazy making perfectionism? Let me know how you've been dealing with it. I'm super interested in what you guys have been doing and what works and what hasn't worked. all right? If you want to know more about my English language program, it's a 10-week program. My Brazilian program is 8 weeks, but I decided to, well, you learn from what you do, right? So I decided to make the English version a little bit different. I want a small group, so I can start initially maybe with 4 people, so that I can really focus on you guys and on this first beta launch. If you like the video, then share it. It might be useful to someone else. Subscribe. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. I love reading the comments, and I will make videos on your questions. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.